They don't give you a real manual when you start driving Route 23. Dispatch hands you laminated cards, route logs, fuel vouchers, and a smile that doesn't reach their eyes. But none of it prepares you for what actually lives out here. Not the things that slip past your high beams or ride the static on your CB. Not the people who vanish mid-haul, or the towns that shouldn't exist but do, just long enough to swallow a rig whole. The rules that matter, the ones that keep your wheels turning and your lungs full, don't come from corporate. They're handed down over burnt coffee and rest stops with flickering lights, whispered by drivers who smell like old leather and sleep deprivation, who speak in half-truths and scar stories. Some of them lie. Most don't. I've been driving this stretch of highway for 17 years now. I know where the potholes live. I know which gas stations actually carry diesel and which ones are just fronts for something else. I know which diners serve coffee strong enough to keep your hands from shaking, and which ones just make it worse. I know the smell the pavement gets after a summer storm, and I know the kind of silence that only means one thing out here. Don't stop. And more than anything, I know the rules. You follow them, you survive. That's how it works. Break one, even once, and Route 23 will fold you into the blacktop like you were never born. You'll be a missing report, a rumor, a faded photo taped to a convenience store window, another whisper shared at midnight between truckers who don't sleep as much as they should. I don't remember who gave me the rules, not exactly. Could have been Benny the Bull, back when he still had both hands. Or maybe Curtis, the guy who used to carve tally marks into his dashboard until he stopped driving altogether. Doesn't matter. What matters is I listened. I memorized every one. Except one, and I'll get to that. But first I want to tell you what I know. Not the stories you hear from couch warriors or gas station weirdos trying to scare tourists. I'm talking about the ones I've seen with my own eyes. The ones that leave blood under your nails and frost in your lungs even when it's 80 degrees outside. If you're going to drive Route 23 at night, you need to understand this much. The road watches. The road remembers. And the road does not forgive. So here they are, the rules, and God help you if you ever forget them. Rule 1. If you see someone walking alone past mile marker 112 near the pine wall, do not stop. Do not look in your mirrors after you pass them. That one always comes first, because it's the first one you'll break if you're not warned in time. See, most of us out here, we're trained to stop. We've all seen too many stories, heard too many dispatches about some poor soul stranded in the dark. It feels wrong to leave someone behind in the middle of nowhere, especially a woman walking alone, not even hitchhiking, just walking. But this isn't a real someone, not anymore. They call her the Pineswalker. That name's older than me. No one really knows how far it goes back, but I've been hearing it since my rookie year. Drivers used to whisper she was a college girl who got hit and left to die back in the early 90s. Others say she's always been there, even before the highway was paved, just waiting for a reason to step back onto the road. All I know for sure is that she walks at night. Against traffic, always against. She wears a red windbreaker zipped up to her neck, no hood even when it's raining. Long dark hair, straight and swinging like it's drifting underwater. Her jeans are clean, no mud, no stains. Her face, if you're dumb enough to get close, looks off. Not monstrous, just not quite right. Like someone forgot how human skin is supposed to sit on a skull. But the most important thing to remember is this. She doesn't ask for help. She doesn't wave, doesn't stick out her thumb, she just walks. Always on the shoulder, close to the pine wall around mile marker 112. You'll see her once, that's all it takes. I spotted her my 3rd year out here. I had just hauled a double shift, dead tired, windows cracked to stay awake. Summer night, warm air, cicadas screaming their guts out. Then, in the corner of my headlights, there she was, just a flash of red against the trees, her head tilted ever so slightly toward my truck as I passed. I didn't stop, didn't even tap the brakes. Every part of me screamed to check the mirrors, but I didn't. I gripped the wheel, counted 5 breaths, and stared dead ahead until the trees opened up again. She never chased me, never needed to. I've had nightmares about that moment ever since. But Dalton? Dalton didn't get the memo. He was a rookie. Brand new Kenworth, shiny chrome mirrors, the kind of guy who thought his job made him invincible. Nice enough kid, I met him once at a Love's in Portsmouth, bought me a coffee because I told him his trailer brake line was leaking coolant. 1 month later, he disappeared. Dispatch said he radioed in at 1:13 a.m., clear skies, no obstructions. Said he'd picked up a passenger just north of the Pines. They even played the recording once at a safety meeting. I'll never forget how calm he sounded. "Got a hitcher," he said. "Red windbreaker, heading north, just didn't feel right leaving her." That was the last thing anyone ever heard from him. Troopers found his rig 10 miles down the road, parked clean on the shoulder. Engine running, lights on, cab empty, logbook missing, dashcam wiped. The weird part? Passenger side door was wide open, no blood, no prints, just an open door and an empty truck humming quietly in the dark, like it had been waiting for someone to come back. I drove that stretch 2 nights later, slowed down by instinct near the marker, but she wasn't there, not that time. Instead, I saw something I still don't like talking about. Dalton's rig. Still parked, still humming. Dispatch swore it had been towed. They even showed me the receipt, but I saw it, plain as day. Same license plate, same bumper sticker that read, "Keep it between the lines." I floored it past him. That was the first time I realized some of the trucks you pass out here at night. They're not being driven by anyone. So you listen close now. You're gonna see someone on that stretch, sooner or later. It won't be a prank, it won't be a stranded hiker, it'll be her. And when it happens, you'll want to help. That's what she feeds on. Just keep your eyes on the road. Grip the wheel, count your breaths, and whatever you do, don't look back. Rule 2. If you're near the old rail crossing south of Piketon and see a neon vacancy sign through the snow, keep driving. That motel hasn't stood for decades. I learned this one the hard way. It was during my second winter out on Route 23. I'd just gotten my license upgraded for doubles, and I was hauling feed out of Portsmouth, trying to beat a storm that came in faster than expected. Flurries turned to whiteout in less than half an hour. The kind of snow that doesn't fall down but sideways, like the wind's got a personal grudge. Around 2:30 a.m., I crept past the old rail crossing south of Piketon. I remember the red signal lights blinking even though no train was coming, and the way my headlights barely reached 10 feet through the storm. Then, I saw it. To the right of the road, tucked behind a row of snow-choked trees, was a glowing green neon sign, Grace and Gus's Motel. The letters flickered softly like they were breathing. The whole thing looked warm, almost cozy, like something out of a Christmas postcard. I don't know what made me pull off. Maybe it was the snow. Maybe it was the fact that my coffee had gone cold 2 hours back. Maybe I just wanted to sleep for 10 damn minutes. I took the turn and rolled slow into the lot. There were already trucks parked along the side. 4 of them, each spaced evenly like they'd been lined up by hand. None of them had lights on, no engines running, no vapor rising from their stacks. That should have been my first clue. I cut my engine and sat for a minute, just listening. No wind, no snow hitting the windshield, no sound at all except the soft buzz of the neon. I climbed down from the cab. My boots crunched into snow that was warm to the touch. That was the second clue. Inside, the air felt wrong. Thick and too hot, like someone had left the heat cranked up all day. The lobby was lit with these ugly yellow bulbs that made everything look jaundiced. Wallpaper peeled in long strips above wood paneling. There was a dusty ficus in the corner and a bowl of butterscotch candies on the desk. Behind it sat a man. Short, round, wearing a pale blue sweater with a stitched goose on it. I remember thinking it looked handmade, like something his mother would have sent him 20 Christmases ago. He smiled at me, but it didn't reach his eyes. His cheeks looked like they'd been stapled into place. "Welcome to Grace and Gus's," he said. "Room 9's available." I didn't tell him what I wanted. I hadn't even opened my mouth yet. He was already holding the key out toward me, one of those heavy brass ones on a leather tag. The number 9 was etched in worn silver. I took it. And I still don't know why. The hallway smelled like burnt coffee and lemon cleaner. There were 7 doors on each side, identical, except for little brass numbers that looked recently polished. Room 9 was at the very end on the left. I made it 5 steps. That's when she passed me. A woman, late 50s, maybe older. Hair gray and frizzy, parted dead center. Her coat was black and buttoned wrong, off by 1 hole. She didn't speak, didn't look at me. just rolled a suitcase behind her that thudded against the carpet with every step. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, like I was walking through a dream. I stopped walking. She didn't. She reached the lobby doors, turned the knob, and stepped outside. I peeked on the lot through the lobby window. There she was walking. But something was off. She didn't leave any footprints in the snow. That was enough. I turned around, walked back out into the lot, and climbed into my rig. My hands were shaking too much to get the key in the ignition right away. I sat there for what felt like forever, just watching the snow fall. I drove away without turning on the radio, without blinking, without breathing. The next morning, I called a buddy of mine who used to run Piketon overnight. He went quiet when I mentioned the motel. "You went in?" he asked. "Just the lobby." "You're lucky." That was all he said. Since then, I've heard the stories. They come out every winter. A driver doesn't make it past Piketon. No crash, no tow report, no distress signal, just gone. Sometimes they find the truck abandoned at the edge of the old rail crossing. Sometimes they don't. But the last GPS ping? Always the same. Out front of Grace and Gus's. It's not a place. It's not even a memory. It's bait. And if you see that green neon sign cutting through the snow like a knife, I don't care how tired you are, how cold your bones feel, or how sweet that vacancy looks. You keep driving. Because whatever checks into room 9 never checks out. Rule 3. If you witness a crash on Copper Hollow Bridge, do not stop. No matter what you see, keep driving. Copper Hollow Bridge doesn't look like much in the daylight. Just a rust-colored truss barely wide enough for 2 rigs to pass each other without losing a mirror. It's tucked between 2 steep curves east of Circleville, hanging over a ravine so deep the fog just settles in and never leaves. Most drivers don't even realize they're on it until they're already halfway across. There's no sign, no warning, just a slow incline, then the sound changes. Rubber on steel, a subtle vibration under your seat, like the road is shivering. At night, though, it becomes something else. I first heard the rule from a guy named Willis, back when I was still doing split shifts. We were stuck overnight at a way station near Chillicothe, killing time with stale vending machine coffee and chain smoking out by the trailers. He asked if I'd run the hollow yet. When I told him I hadn't, he just nodded real slow and said, "Don't stop. You see a crash, you hear screaming, you just keep going. Got it?" Didn't make much sense then. Now I don't need anyone to explain. It only happens when the fog's heavy and low. That's how you know it's coming. The air goes still, wind dies. Sound carries weird, like it's bouncing off something that isn't there. Then you see the lights. They flicker through the fog first, spinning, twisting. One red, one white. A stutter of brake lights flashing across the railing. You hear the tires screech, metal twisting, glass shattering, screams. Sometimes one, sometimes more. They sound real, they feel real. But the bridge is always clear, always. There's never a wreck, no debris, no blown-out railing, just the ghost of a crash that never happened. Or maybe keeps happening, over and over, looking for someone stupid enough to get involved. 3 years ago, a driver named Lana tried. She was one of those I-can-fix-it types. Real sweet, real stubborn. We shared a table once at Larkspur Bend over bad meatloaf and worse coffee. She talked about how she'd always wanted to be a paramedic before her dad pushed her into long-haul driving. Said she kept a trauma kit under her bunk just in case. Well, one foggy night, she crossed the hollow and saw the lights, red and white, blinking out of sync. A small silver sedan jammed into the railing, hazard lights still pulsing. She called it in, pulled her rig sideways to block the road, threw on her vest, and ran toward the car. The 911 recording picked up everything she said. Calm, focused, like she was trained for this. "I've got one victim, female, looks unconscious." Then silence. They found her truck parked sideways across the bridge just like she'd said. Headlights still on, engine off, no sign of her. No blood, no tracks, nothing. And the sedan didn't exist. No tire marks, no broken railing, no signs of a crash at all. Just fog. The rumor is someone in the recovery crew got spooked bad enough to quit on the spot. Said he saw her standing at the far end of the bridge, just past the lights. Said she smiled and raised a hand like she was waving goodbye. No one else saw her. I crossed that bridge myself 2 weeks later. Fog was thick enough to chew. And sure enough, the lights came, swaying through the dark like dying fireflies. My instincts kicked in. I reached for the brake. My hand hovered over it. but I didn't stop. I gripped the wheel, pushed through. For the next 30 seconds, I couldn't hear my own engine. Just metal grinding and screams on either side of me. It felt like the world was tearing itself apart just inches away, and I couldn't even flinch. Then I was off the bridge, just like that. Sound came back. The air moved again. I pulled over a mile down the road and threw up into the gravel. I don't cross Copper Hollow Bridge without white-knuckling the wheel now. I keep my eyes forward. Doesn't matter how real it sounds or how human those screams are. They're not. They're bait. And if you stop, you become the next part of the loop, another scream for the next driver to ignore. Rule 4. If you hit a deer near the Devil's Elbow curve north of South Bloomfield, do not stop. Do not get out. Keep driving, even if it's still moving. Most wildlife keeps its distance from trucks. Big rigs are loud, heavy, fast, and animals aren't stupid. They hear us coming long before we see them. You might get the occasional raccoon, the unlucky fox, but deer, they usually bolt. Except near Devil's Elbow. It's a nasty curve carved into a bluff just north of South Bloomfield. Locals call it that because the road juts like a crooked arm between two rock faces, and the turn's so sharp you can't take it at speed without kissing the guardrail. Every time I run that stretch, my palms start to sweat about a mile before it hits. I knew the rule long before I understood it. Just one of those things passed down. If you hit a deer at Devil's Elbow, don't stop. Keep going, no matter what. The first few times I ran it, I didn't even see anything. Figured it was superstition, like tapping the dash when you cross state lines. Then came last fall. It was around 3 a.m., dead quiet, moon tucked behind clouds. I was hauling frozen meats, half a load, and coasting into the turn slower than usual. I wasn't tired, but I was zoning out a little, just listening to the hum of the road, letting my brain drift. That's when I saw it. A deer. Right in the middle of the lane, but not like any deer I'd ever seen. Its antlers were wrong, twisting out sideways like spider legs, too many branches, too symmetrical. Its neck was too long, its chest too narrow, and its legs, they bent the wrong way. Not like they were broken, more like they'd grown that way on purpose. It didn't flinch, didn't run, just watched me. I slammed the brakes too late, swerved, clipped it with the trailer. Felt the jolt thump through the rear axle like I'd hit a guardrail. I checked the mirror before I could stop myself. That was the mistake. The thing was still standing, bent, bleeding, and laughing, or at least it looked like it was. Its mouth hung open, tongue lolled out, head tilted back like it was enjoying the pain. I didn't stop. I didn't slow down. I locked my eyes on the road, shoved the pedal and drove. A week later, I heard about Russo. He was a good guy. Clean logs, reliable, never late. He hit one of them near the elbow, too. But unlike me, he stopped. Got out. Left his cab running with the door cracked open. Hazard lights blinking. He radioed once, static, and then, it's still moving. That was it. Dispatch tracked his truck for hours. It kept rolling southbound, slow and steady, no one in the driver's seat. Another driver swore they passed it near Chillicothe, gliding along the shoulder, like it was being pulled by something you couldn't see. They say it's still out there, running loops in the night, lights on but empty. Some folks think Russo's still in there somewhere. Others think whatever he saw took him, and left his truck behind as a warning. As for me, I don't stop for deer anymore, not even when they look real. Especially not when they don't. Because there's something out here wearing their shape like a cheap suit. Something that wants you to climb out and come closer. Something that feeds on your hesitation. So if you ever clip one at Devil's Elbow, and you probably will, don't get out. Let it twitch, let it bleed, let it stand back up and follow you down the shoulder for 5 long miles. Just drive. And whatever you do, don't check your mirrors. Rule 5. If you pass through Larkspur Bend, stop at the diner. Sit at the third booth from the door. Order the meatloaf. Tip exactly $3.17. Never, ever complain. Most nights, Route 23 feels like it goes on forever. You hit stretches so long and empty that the silence starts to grow teeth. The radio crackles, the road hums, and you find yourself wondering if you missed a turn somewhere and slipped into a place the map doesn't cover. You don't plan to stop in Larkspur. No one does. It isn't marked on any GPS, and it sure as hell isn't on your delivery route. But if you're out past 1 a.m. heading through southern Ohio, Eventually, you'll blink and see the faded wooden sign leaning by the roadside, half covered in kudzu. Welcome to Larkspur Bend, established 1896. There's only one gas station, one diner, one boarded-up antique shop with a clock in the window that always reads 3:14, no matter the time of day. That's how you know you're in the right place. The diner sits just past the gas station, low-slung, silver-sided, chrome doors and red awnings. Neon sign flickering, hot meals, open late. The first time I stopped there, I was running low on fuel and lower on sleep. Figured I'd kill some time, grab a bite, maybe stretch my legs. I pulled in just after 1:30 a.m. and parked next to an old Peterbilt that looked like it had been there since the Reagan administration. Inside, the diner was warm. Not just the thermostat, but the feeling. It smelled like baked bread and black coffee. Vinyl booths lined the windows and the overhead lights buzzed just loud enough to keep you awake without pissing you off. It was almost too normal. That's what made me nervous. Then I saw her. Silver hair tied back neat, cherry red apron, name tag that says Delilah. She smiles like she's been expecting you. Offers you coffee without asking, pours it like she already knows how you take it. She never remembers me. Not once in all these years. But I remember her. She waits for you to sit. You have to take the third booth from the door. It's always empty. Doesn't matter how many people are in the diner or how crowded it looks from outside. Booth 3 will be open. Then she asks, "What'll it be tonight?" There's only one answer: meatloaf. Don't try to get cute. Don't order the burger. Don't ask for the special. Definitely don't request substitutions. You order the meatloaf, you eat it. You tip exactly $3.17 in cash, and most importantly, you never complain. Not about the food, not about the service, not about the other diners, even if they're staring at you a little too long, even if their skin looks too tight or their smiles don't fade. You keep your mouth shut and your eyes on your plate. I knew a guy once. Hale. Big talker, loud laugh, kind of guy who never took rules seriously. I warned him about the diner before he ever got routed through the bend. He didn't listen. Ordered eggs. Said he didn't like meatloaf. He made it halfway through the plate before his nose started bleeding. Thought it was just dry air. Then his eyes watered. He staggered up, knocking over his coffee, and ran out the door. Hale's still around, I think. I saw him last year refueling down by Lucasville. Looked rough. Gaunt, never spoke, didn't meet my eyes. He hasn't driven through Larkspur since. I don't think he sleeps either. Now, every time I roll into that diner, I follow the routine like my life depends on it. Booth 3, meatloaf, tip $3.17 in cash. It's never good. Never bad either. Just warm, gray-brown slices with mashed potatoes and gravy, peas on the side. I eat every bite, and I don't say a word. Because sometimes, if you listen real close, you can hear everyone whispering your name. Rule 6. If the CB radio starts speaking to you by name, do not believe anything it says. Do not answer. Do not argue, just turn it off. Most of the other rules I learned secondhand, through stories passed around at truck stops, muttered warnings over cheap cigarettes, and bitter coffee. I followed them, and they kept me alive. But this one, I broke. And I paid for it. 3 months ago, I was running an overnight grain load eastbound, just outside of Chillicothe. Everything was quiet. Sky was clear, road was empty, CB was dead. I hadn't used it in weeks, didn't even have it on half the time anymore, just tired of the noise. That night, though, it turned itself on. The dial clicked over like someone else had reached in and twisted it. Static hissed softly. I reached to shut it off when I heard it. Jasmine. Not just my name. My full name, like a parent calling you when you're in trouble. Calm, measured, soft, like a lullaby you half remember from childhood. I froze. It wasn't any voice I knew. Too smooth, too close. Jasmine Lorraine Myers. I swear it sounded like it was coming from behind me, not from the radio. I turned, heart in my throat, but the cab was empty. I should have shut it off right then, pulled the fuse, and never looked back. But I didn't, because the next thing it said was something I'd never told anyone. Your brother's ribs broke in the crash. You still hear him crying at night. You still blame yourself. I couldn't breathe. My hands went numb on the wheel. I hadn't spoken about that accident in years. Not to friends, not to therapists, No one. But the voice knew exactly what I remembered, where I was sitting, what I saw, how long it took for the paramedics to cut us out. I told myself it was just stress, some twisted trick of the mind. I tried to laugh it off. Then it said something else. There's a better road, Jasmine. A true road. A free road. All you have to do is take the next turn. I don't remember making the decision. 1 minute I was driving straight, the next I was slowing for a gravel turnoff that didn't show up on my GPS. A narrow dirt path swallowed by trees, no signs, no markers, just space that shouldn't have been there. The CB crackled again. Trust me. So I did. I turned. The moment my tires left the pavement, the air changed. My headlights flickered. The trees thickened, twisted in strange angles like they'd been grown underwater. Fog rose from the ground, not from the air, from the dirt itself, thick and sour like rot. Then the town appeared. No name, no welcome sign, just streets, homes, street lamps that buzzed and flickered but didn't cast light. Windows without glass, people without eyes. They stood motionless on sidewalks, hands at their sides, heads tilted toward me like they'd been waiting. Their faces were blank, not featureless, but unfinished, like sketches someone gave up on halfway through. And they were all watching me. I drove slow. The CB kept whispering, "You've made it, you're safe now, you never have to go back, let the road end here." I pulled over in front of what looked like a church, white paint peeling, doors open wide, and for one moment, just one, I almost climbed out. But I didn't, because I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, and the woman staring back wasn't me. She looked like me. Same jacket, same scar on the chin, same tired eyes. But she was smiling, and I wasn't. Her lips moved, but the sound came from the CB. "Come inside, Jasmine." I slammed the radio off and threw the truck into reverse. The fog chased me as I backed up, fast as I could without jackknifing. I clipped a rusted mailbox and didn't stop. Tires screamed. The air snapped like it was tearing paper. And then, I was back on Route 23. No turnoff behind me, no town, just road. The radio hasn't worked since. Not really. It powers on, picks up weather alerts, traffic chatter. But sometimes in the quiet just before dawn, it clicks by itself. And I hear her voice again. Soft, patient, waiting. So listen to me. You can dodge the Pineswalker, you can ignore the deer, you can survive Larkspur's meatloaf. But if the CB calls your name, turn it off. Because whatever's out there on that other road, it wants you. And it knows exactly what to say to make you listen.